Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Regina Spruill. She's the chair of the Bowie Education Committee. Regina, welcome.
Thank you.
Regina, it was a wonderful morning this morning. My kids walked to the bus stop. Summer is over, school is in.
That's right.
So it was a glorious morning this morning.
It was.
I love back to school.
Me too.
Because it's a time of so much hope for the new school year. Whatever you did the year before, doesn't matter. It's a new beginning. And anything is possible.
Absolutely.
So let's start off. Tell us what the Bowie Education Committee is all about.
So the Bowie Education Committee is an advisory committee. It's a group of volunteers who are sworn in by the mayor and the city council. And so they're sworn in for 2 years of service, and they serve on a variety of subcommittees, from scholarships to forums to budget advisories, and do a variety of activities to just promote and celebrate the teachers and educators in our city, and to kind of push education when it comes to the students and the children of Bowie.
What do you think are the major issues facing people who are educators in the city of Bowie? What are the issues you're facing as educators or students are facing? What are some of the problems?
Well, I mean, I think as educators, we just want to make sure that people are aware. I think there are a lot of resources that are available to families through the school system, through the community, and just making sure. So even when I talk about the forums, and we don't always have the attendance that we could, and I think sometimes people don't know that these are topics that you say you're interested in, and we want to push and promote it just so that people know what's going on, so that people understand the resources that are available to them.
So you say that you all deal with the budget too. Do you feel like the resources that the community needs, are the resources being given to the school system?
Well, so the Bowie Education Committee is an advisory committee through the city of Bowie, and what we do is we advise the city council. So when the budget comes out, we review the budget, and then we actually make recommendations and send that to the city manager's office, to the city council, and then they take that into consideration when they make their recommendations to, I guess, the city council, the county council, and to the CEO of the school system. So I think they take that into consideration. I think it's very helpful that we do that, and that we're a group of Bowie residents, so it's nice to actually hear from residents.
So as a Bowie resident, as a parent, what made you decide that you wanted to be a part of this?
So I'm one who always believes in being engaged. I'm an educator. Again, as you said, I'm a parent. And so I feel like, well, my time can't be better spent than doing something that I think will help my child. And because I am an educator, then I think more globally when it comes to children. So it's a way to interact with the community. It's a way to serve. And it's actually a fun way to actually promote education in our city.
It's been around for quite some time, the committee.
Yes, the committee began in 1987.
And what do you think some of the accomplishments have been over the years?
I think celebrating teachers, that it's a profession that I think most people feel like they know, but isn't often as celebrated as it could be.
No, it's not. Lord knows teachers are not paid what they are worth. I mean, because you are shaping the life of people who are our future. And Lord knows teachers do not get the accolades, they don't get the financial compensation that they need for the fantastic job they do.
And so just when you talk about accolades, that, we do teacher appreciation, where once a year we go out, and we've done it anywhere from like Valentine's Day, sort of our love for our educators, through somewhere in the spring around Teacher Appreciation Week. But we've done gift baskets, we've done cakes, we've used the local businesses to try to promote those as well. And so just some recognition that thank you for what you do, thank you for your service. We have the principals can nominate teachers, and we do Teacher of the Quarter or Educator of the Quarter. And so that's another way they can do that. We also have a grant budget. It's a small grant budget, but where that teachers and anybody across the school system, be it the public or the private schools in Bowie, can actually put in for a grant. So if there's special projects they want to do, then we have up to like $1,000 each grant. We have a total of $15,000 budget for this annually. But it's an opportunity for them that, if there's a special project and the school system can't afford to support it, but I really want to do this, and so that they can apply for a grant through the city. And if it's educationally based, then we will consider that.
We know that Prince George's County Schools has not had the best reputation, and some of that, of course, is unwarranted. Hasn't had the best reputation over the years. What makes Bowie different? Well,
in some ways, I'm going to say Bowie represents all of Prince George's County. The superintendent has been the CEO, Dr. Maxwell, has been very supportive of our schools, and I think along with his cabinet, I don't know what makes it different, but I think every school system needs families and communities who come out and who support. So when you think about the Bowie Education Committee, it's a mix of educators, it's a mix of lawyers and business people. Some of these people have young children going to the school system, not yet there. Some have children in the school system, and some, their kids are grown or they don't have children, but they believe in education. So I think every city just needs a strong community who wants to back and support education.
Very good, very good. There are some programs that you guys are responsible for, and one program that stuck out in my mind, you do a whole reading program dealing with kids. It is Bowie Reads.
So Bowie Reads is actually what we do at Bowie Fest. So Bowie Fest is, yes, it's the first Saturday in June of every year. And it's such a fun, it's a big festival across Allen Pond. And so everybody comes out. So what we do is we have a booth, and we're pretty much in the same location. There's a big children's area that's part of Bowie Fest now, and we give out, it's a minimum of 2 books to any child who comes. And these are gently used books that have been donated anywhere from January through probably mid-May, that we collect the books, we sort them. We have a lot of the local elementary schools who are willing to actually collect. And sometimes we get storage bin offers from the local storage companies, so that we're able to hold these books and then we distribute them. And so we collect, and I think this past year, I think we had over 500 books that we were able to collect.
You know, that's why it's so wonderful to have guests on like you. I had no idea.
Yes.
And I know when my kids were coming through a couple of years ago, I did a big thing where I just threw out all of those old books. I ended up taking them to the Bowie Public Library.
Wonderful.
But I had no idea that you all collected books.
And it's nice, and people say that. So what we started doing is letting people know. So you could contact Annette Esteheld at the City of Bowie, and she's our liaison, our staff liaison. And so that people can actually start donating books. We also have a bunch of teachers who come through, can I have the rest of the books? If children are finished and towards the end of the day, so when we start packing up at the end of the event, then we let them, we'll come back at the end. If there's any books left, then you can have that, and they get it for their classrooms. So it's actually really nice, and people know we do this. And so every year folks come back and they're looking, and we promoted at the Bowie Memorial Day Parade. We usually pass out bookmarks and flyers that advertise for the event, because we want to push and encourage our students to read.
I think kids are successful when the parents are as involved as possible in the school system or in the child's education. A lot of times we get busy with our jobs and we're not really paying attention and making that partnership between the teacher, the student, and the parent. So how do you think your organization works to kind of strengthen that bond between the teacher, the student, and the parent?
And I would say we try to reach all groups in some ways. And what comes to mind is our forums. And so often we do forums, and usually either Dr. Maxwell, our CEO, or someone else from the board or the executive team would come and speak. We've had parent forums where the PTSOs and the PTSAs will come out, and it will be to help them kind of promote their programs. A couple of years ago, we had the Bowie Youth and Family Services group come over and present to just let parents know this is another option for you. And so I know a lot of them had them come to their next PTAs and did workshops with parents. As we try to make connections, we try to give lists of here's what's going on in the community as it relates to education. We've done forums, and again, some of the members of our team have been educators and specialists. So like literacy is a huge initiative, and so we might do a focus on that and have people come out and participate in that. So we try to do things that would engage our parents. Again, I told you there's ways that we celebrate and try to engage the educators. We want to engage our parents. We also have, it's a 13-member board, and that includes one student member. And so that is a student member from Bowie. And so it doesn't have to be, can either be someone from Bowie High School or a Bowie resident. And we typically have, I would say a sophomore is a good age group for someone to come in. And this is a non-voting, but what a wonderful opportunity to understand sort of a little bit about local politics and how things work, to play a part if you're interested in education, to play a part in that role. And so we recently just had our last member, Taylor Ballard. She's actually going into her senior year at Bowie High School, and she was our student member the last 2 years. And so we really try to promote opportunities for young people to be part of the process as well.
And you know, I learned so much from young people.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course, she's learning from you guys what the system is like and what's going on. But out of the mouth of babes.
Yes.
I mean, we can learn so much from our kids. Sometimes as adults, we're out of touch.
Yes.
And kids can really help you get to the meat of, okay, what's going on? What are the kids really thinking? What are they really doing? What's really important to them? So I think it is excellent to have someone, a teenager.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, so as the chair, I actually brought that back. That the student member role had been vacant for a little bit, and so I really wanted to get someone in. And Taylor was just such a great person to come in and kind of help shape what that role looks like. You know, that it's good to come in at a sophomore year, because if you're going to try to make a 2-year commitment, and so we understand with young people they might only be able to make one, but she did make a 2-year commitment, that's a good time. You know what I mean? And senior year is something else, and so it's a good time to let her go and blossom and sort of experience that last year of high school. But Taylor always pushed, increased technology, right? So no surprise. And as our student member, so it became she kind of helped develop that the student member is good at the Bowie Memorial Day Parade, just bringing in friends, coming in with fresh ideas. And so she brings her colleagues, and she happens to be a student at Bowie High School, then it's a good way to bring other young people into the parade. And so that was one of our newer subcommittee initiatives. We've probably done the parade, I guess, about 4 years. But it is a good way, again, to promote education and to promote Bowie Reads at the upcoming Bowie Fest a few weeks later, so a week or so later. So it really has been a nice, fresh perspective to have her there.
Yeah, that sounds, and you will continue, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
What are you guys doing as far as helping kids? Because the purpose of all of this is to help the kids go on to bigger and better things, of course, which includes college.
Yes.
So are there any initiatives that you all are working on, maybe grants or scholarship opportunities?
So there's a scholarship.
For children? There
is a scholarship, and so it's always nice if we can continue to increase that. But we typically do scholarship awards in conjunction with the Arts Committee, who usually has one scholarship recipient. The Bowie Education Committee has $5,000 dedicated annually for scholarships. And so our subcommittees, we kind of pick and choose from applicants who apply and award such. So we always have scholarship recipients coming through the school system.
So that's broken up into, the $5,000 is broken up and a certain amount is given to each student, or how does that work?
So, and it just depends on the applicants who come in, and our team sits and we look at it, and so we try not to make it less than $1,000. We at least want to make sure it helps you with books or what have you.
Especially nowadays,
right.
Any little thing helps with the cost of education.
Absolutely. So just the fact that the city continues to push that, even when there's budgetary issues, we have never had to worry that we're not able to give the scholarship. So we'd always love, for increased funds, but we're grateful that we're able to support our young people that way.
Over the years, have you seen more kids interested in going to school, or what have you seen as far as that? More kids interested in obtaining the scholarships, or?
So it would be interesting to look at the trends, but what I would say is we always have a nice pool of applicants. And so I think, when we get information individually, we try to collectively pass it out to the members, and please share, just to make sure that it's not just the scholarships we're offering, but when it comes across our desk, either our staff liaison or any member of our committee, that we try to sort of funnel it out to the communities in all ways that we can, just to make sure that people are aware of what's out there. There's a lot of scholarships through the school system, and we just want to continue to sort of pass the word.
And that is absolutely so important, to pass the word, to let people know. A lot of times, kids don't know what's out here as far as scholarships are concerned. They don't know what's available, and sometimes this money just sits there.
Right.
And,
Sure.
and they don't know, and getting the word out there that there is money available, and it might not be a whole bunch, but like I said, when it comes to education, anything can help. Getting that book, the lab fees.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many different things that are not baked into, tuition that you do have to come out of pocket for. So that's excellent that you offer that.
Thank you.
Opportunity.
It is, absolutely.
And I was telling you off camera a little while ago that I went to a career fair last year, and I was so pleased at not only the number of kids who were talking about going to college, but the number of kids who were attending HBCUs.
Yes.
And that just, I'm a Hampton grad, so that just put a smile on my face. And so I just wanted to say and do anything I can say or do to encourage the kids to look into scholarships, look into what's available to you for the future.
Well, and then I have to put a plug in for Howard University. I am a Howard alumni, and so I would absolutely agree. And part of our conversation, I am a staunch supporter of our HBCUs, but it is so important for young people to go to college, period. And
Yes.
so, we're talking, and I've come between my family and from the work that I do to just understand it's about having the right fit. So we really want you to go to school, period. And so we celebrate, any higher education that students are able to obtain.
Yeah, and whether you decide that you want to go to an HBCU, whether you want to go to a large school, a University of Miami, whether you want to go to a large school or small school, it's all an individual thing. But you got to do something. You've got to have a skill. You were talking about how the young lady brought the idea of technology, more technology.
Yes.
It's as time goes on. I mean, when I was in college, I would have never thought that people would be walking down the street with handheld telephones.
Absolutely.
Who knew?
Absolutely.
And as the years go on, who knows what it's going to be like 10 or 15 years from now, what the technology is going to be. So you've got to be up on that. Even working for McDonald's, you're going to have some sort of skill. Not that there's anything wrong with fast food, but wherever you work, you're going to need some sort of skill. And the key to that is getting an education.
Well, and the word now is college and career ready. And we want to make sure that all of our young people, that you go on to college, that you have the opportunities, and if you choose to go to the world of work, not because you couldn't go to college or you didn't think you could go to college, but because this is really where your passion is. And so either way, what I try to tell young people, you're going to have training either way. So if you think it's easier not to go to school, well, you're probably going to be in some sort of schooling setting, right, just to learn whatever your craft is. So we're talking about technology. I know even in automotives these days, that there's a lot of computerized work there. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our students are ready to go off to college or ready to go to work, or that they're making these choices not because they feel limited, that they can only do one or the other, but that they understand and they're ready either way, but they know they have choices.
As an educator, what exactly does the word career readiness mean? It sounds like it deals with a whole lot of different areas. What exactly does that mean? Career readiness.
So I would agree. I mean, in my opinion, I would say, something about the soft skills, and that's the basic things like getting up on time, that how you dress, how you speak, right? What you do on Saturday morning with your friends is not what you're going to do when you're going to walk into an office. And so sometimes there's work just around that, making sure that young people know and understand how to present themselves, how to carry themselves, what to do when you have questions or problems, And I think that transcends no matter what the actual career is, that you have to first, if you can't get up and show up, right?
Yes.
That's just the initial stuff. And then let's get into sort of the specialties and the technical skills for whatever profession that they're pursuing.
Indeed, indeed. You got to have a skill. You've got to be able to do something. You all also deal with grants. How is...
Yes. So the
Tell us
Bowie
about
Education Committee gives grants each year, and so we have $15,000 for that. Schools can apply for up to $1,000 per grant, and what happens with the grants is that they all come in, there's the application they fill out, and so sometimes there's projects that the schools aren't able to fund, some small project that they want to do, and it could be something more traditional like we want a mobile cart for our computers or some kind of books or things like that, or it could be something a little more creative that it's either it's promoting music or environmental. It can kind of run the spectrum. And so we're pretty open about that as long as we see the educational tie. We like to see that there's some longevity. So if there's some sort of materials that could transcend past this year's group, that others would be able to utilize it. And so it's a reimbursement. And so who applies? Teachers, parents, people from the PTSAs or PTSOs. And of course, always the principal sign off is required so that we know this is something that the administrators in the building consent to. And so there's some sort of initiative that they haven't really gotten funding, or sometimes they have partial funding. You know, the PTSO has been able to raise money for this, but we could just, if we had $1,000, we could close this out and make some other special event happen for young people. So we just want to promote creativity, you know, promote other opportunities and kind of just support what's happening in our schools.
So what are some of the more interesting ideas that you've come across for grants?
Well, so I'm thinking, so I'm going to think in general, and then we'll see which comes out as the more interesting. I mean, I've seen things like, you know, we haven't been able to get a scoreboard, and a lot of schools have to use like multi-purpose rooms as both the cafeteria and the gym. So it might not be as creative, but it's a real need. And so trying to find ways to make all these things fit. And so a scoreboard or some kind of technology to hopefully kind of make its dual purpose actually work for the school. I would say there's lots of different technological events that they have. There was a gardening project I thought was kind of interesting that someone's done. And so there's music people they've brought into the school or special instruments they've been able to get that, you know, again, I think we sort of tend to lean a little more to ones. We definitely want to always see the educational tie. But then in addition to that, we want to see the ability that, you know what, how many people can this serve this year? Will it be able to serve folks after this? How can this be used to continue to support the school that is building, right?
And this is in addition to, of course, each school, or the schools have budgets or whatever. So this is outside of that. This is in addition to what the schools receive, like you said.
Yes, this comes from the city council. And so as the Advisory Education Committee, we're authorized through the city council. And so it has to be approved by them. But these are grants that we've approved, and then we sort of take it to them that this is who we see. And so we work with the city liaison around that. And but this is supported by the Bowie City Council.
One thing you mentioned earlier in the program, you were talking about the diverse makeup of the committee, the fact that you have people from all different walks of life.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that's sort of been enlightening. This has sort of helped you come up with different ideas, because not everyone is from the same place, from the same experience.
And it's absolutely true. So I have been on this committee, I believe, 6 years, and I'm going into my 4th year as the chair. And I remember when I was the new member, you know, and actually I'm the last person who was actually sworn in when City Council was here at Kent Hill, and I was interviewed here. And so it's been a little while. And in that time, I've seen the transition. Some people choose to stay for a while. I told you we just had a member who left, who had been there for 20 years, and she was an educator in the school system, Dr. Norma Martoff. And so I've seen the transition, and you see sort of longevity when you have like a historian as part of the committee. And then you see when we have several new parents with early childhood children, right? Still in daycare. And that's a different perspective. You know, again, we have folks who I know their children are grown. And we have people who haven't had children, but you know what? I'm really into the city, and I wanted to find a way to serve. You know, and so sometimes they're educators on various levels. And sometimes we've got, I can think of 3 lawyers on our committee, you know, who I've got children and I want to serve. And then there's other business people on the committee. And so it just kind of runs the spectrum. And I think people hear from a variety of ways, right? Shows like your own, they hear from the Gazette, they look on and find on the City of Bowie's website, and just want to find ways to serve the community where they live.
If people are interested in becoming involved, I don't know how you do that. Every couple of years, do you have slots available? How does that work?
So there are actually some vacancies, so we would be happy to have people come in. We try to encourage them to come and actually sit in to one of our meetings. We meet monthly. And so just to kind of get a feel of what we do and to see, okay, well, I thought it was this, but this is really what it is. Yes, I'm still interested. You know,
is
so
it like every other Tuesday,
or
how is it?
We meet the first Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock at City Hall. And so interested parties should contact Annette Esteheld, and she is the staff liaison for the Bowie Education Committee, and she's with the city. And so they can go onto the City of Bowie website and look for Annette Esteheld.
And you said that a good suggestion is to come to a meeting.
Yes.
And see for yourself.
Yes. And so it's a good idea to really get a sense of what we do and how we do it. You know, then after that, they're actually sworn in. They go through the process and they get sworn in by the city council. Again, it's a voluntary commitment for 2 years, but you are a sworn in member through the city council.
And how do the meetings work? Is it something that are they long meetings? Is it something that's pretty well organized, a pretty well oiled machine kind of?
The chair, I'd like to say, it's well organized. It's a wonderful meeting. So it's from 7 to 8:30. It's once a month. And then it just, other than that, I ask that people sign up, that at least be willing to chair one subcommittee and co-chair at least one other. And there's a few projects that are all hands on deck. At the end of the year, usually in May, we do Excellence in Education, where every school in the city comes out. The principal comes out. They have selected an honoree. And so CEO Dr. Maxwell comes, and lots of dignitaries across the city and across the county and even some across the state come to celebrate our educators.
Very
Those
good.
kind of events, all hands on deck.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, and we'll give the information for the contact information in the credits so that if people are interested in becoming involved, they can do so.
Wonderful. We'll be happy to have them.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We've been talking to Regina Spruill. She's the chair of the Bowie Education Committee. It is the beginning of the school year, and it's going to be a great year, isn't it?
Absolutely. Thank you.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Have a great day.